What is up? It's your boy jonni.shreve. I have BB Promos to tell like it is, guys. Welcome back to an episode, actually not podcast. Today we're doing an episode of Coaching Up. Before we get started, guys, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. A lot of you guys are watching the videos but not subscribing to the channel and you're missing some good stuff. I'm telling you, I'm putting out 95% of my info is free. So if you want to get that 95% of free info, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button so next time I put a video, you're the first ones to get it. And also, guys, got my ebook, the Ultimate Push-Pull Legs Training ebook is out right now. Go to my site, jonni.shreve.com, grab yourself a book right now. We're gonna go over legs with Scott Herman. Just a heads up, I've already did this video due to some technical difficulties. I had to finish this here at home. So I did actually watch the video before already, and I did do the corrections or the coaching up to some of the things in here that he's saying, because I mean, Scott Herman being an OG in the business, he's saying some things that I just cannot agree with. And look, I don't really care if you're a fan of his or not. I'm just saying, I'm only gonna put out facts, okay? So I'm using this video, guys, here to help give you all a better understanding of, optimizing your leg training. You can never give out, more than information about leg training, period. Anyway, I said this before too. I was talking to one of my editors before, and I'm like, listen, I would rather keep reiterating the same points over and over and over again than for me to start putting out a bunch of nonsense. I'm putting out some funny, skits and stuff, has from the shorts and whatnot, but I still keep it motivating, I still keep it entertaining, and I still keep it educational. All right, guys, let's get it started right now. Let's go.
Looks like we're actually filming a leg video today.
Wah, wah, wah. Hey, it's true. It is true. It is true. People don't really like legs that much. So
because they take on too many muscle groups at once. Guys, it's okay to split your leg training into multiple days. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to most effectively attack your quads to maximize muscle growth.
Okay, so right away, guys, I'm seeing some stuff in there just like he's doing that I've coached about a bunch of times when it comes to leg training. And yes, there's things there he's doing right now that we got to fix. But let's go on. He's right. We do not have to cram everything in one day. That's why even my book, the Push-Pull Legs Training ebook, there is legs on 2 different sets, 2 different days. And one day is quad dominant, one day is hamstring dominant, but you're still going to have hamstrings and quads in both those movements, because when it comes down to it, hip and knee flexion are going to be pretty consistent through a lot of leg movements. So you're going to get a lot of hamstrings and glutes and quads. But to make it more isolated, to really focus on just quads, let's just keep watching this video.
All right, so first things first, the mechanics. Quads, as you know, is short for quadriceps femoris, and the quads is a 4-headed muscle, as the name implies. You have the rectus femoris, the vastus lateralis, the vastus medialis, and the vastus intermedius.
Sometimes the reason why I don't really get on a lot of the terminology is because a lot of you guys don't really know what the heck it even means or even really care. Really knowing this is your ulna, your radius, bone isn't really going to help you training, but letting you understand that, what certain things do in the body, what parts of what muscles move the skeleton around, that's basically what we're trying to do and trying to simplify the most. So you'll probably never really hear me say any kind of real terminology. Sometimes you will definitely hear me see real terminology, but when it comes to naming muscle groups, whatnot, I'll say VMO, not vastus medialis or rectus femoris or vastus lateralis, whatever it is. Your quads, you got 4 of them, and they all move your knee extension. That's all they do. Just like a tricep, all 3 heads extend your elbow. Think about your tricep, think about your quad being the tricep of your legs.
But for the purposes of muscle growth and strength, we really don't have to go any deeper regarding the specific function of these muscles. Instead, just remember that all 4 heads of the quads are responsible for knee extension, which simply means to straighten your knee.
Exactly. So let's keep it going.
Now, knee extension can happen 2 different ways. The first way mimics the mechanics of the leg extension machine, where the upper leg remains motionless while the lower leg extends and straightens. And the second way is the exact opposite. In fact, a great example to showcase this would be the squat. During a squat, the lower leg for the most part remains motionless and in contact with the ground, while the upper leg moves, which results in knee extension. But either way, the end result is the same, and we get quad engagement.
Exactly. So when it comes down to moving, what he means is, we want to get good knee and hip flexors, like I said before. When it comes down to it, the bottom part of your leg, your tibia, or your shin bone, whatever. There's not much moving there, but there is slight movement when it comes to knee flexion. When we're looking at, say, like deadlifts and whatnot, there's not much movement in that shin bone at all. When it comes to, deads and whatnot, because you do a lot more hip hinging more than actual, like, you're doing a lot more, I would say, hinging and hip flexion, but not as much knee flexion when it comes to, like, sumo deadlifts or conventional deadlifts and whatnot like that. So, let's keep it going.
Exercises to target the quad. Well, as I'm sure you've already guessed, the squat is one of those exercises. Also known as the king of all exercises, it's a
Okay, so I'm going to go over this, I'm going to talk about this really quick and send you guys right over to me demonstrating a couple things. But when it comes to this, when I'm looking at this right now in a squat, going like just even mimicking, even doing examples for you guys out there, I would slow things right down. Just dropping down on his knees, bouncing back up. If I saw him from the side, you definitely would see some butt winking at the bottom and whatnot. And we're trying to do a lot of that, trying to avoid a lot of that when we're training legs. So let's keep going.
All the major muscle groups, including your quads, glutes, hamstrings, arms, shoulders, and back muscles, while also increasing your overall core strength. However, if we're trying to focus more on quads, you'll benefit the most from having a narrower squat stance. This is because the deeper you can squat, the more your quads will activate during the exercise.
That is wrong. Okay, so that's wrong. And there's like a ton of studies. There's so many studies out there that talk about depth when it comes to depth or stance, width. Your legs being closer or wider, they'll change a few things, but it really comes down to the body's overall mechanics. It's up to somebody's physique that will be different for everybody. So if you have long torso, long femur, long shin bone, you can have a lot more knee over toe and whatnot. If you have a longer torso, shorter, quad bone and shorter tibia, you can have a lot more, you're going to tilt a lot more from the waist down, from the waist up, a lot more leaning and whatnot. The depth does not give you more activation in your quad. What happens is that you're still getting activation in the quads, but after about 90 degrees, there isn't much more when it comes to squatting that you're going to benefit from your quads. Because when you're going super low like that, now the people that really go that low are the ones who are doing, powerlifting meets. Those who have to go that low for judging purposes. Those who don't, it is not necessary to go that low as the grass. Number one. Two, you're not going to benefit any more growth in your legs from going any deeper because you need too much of that butt wink, and then we really basically turn off that posterior chain, giving us that much more support and stability when we're actually pushing ourselves back up and we're doing the whole leg straightening thing when it comes to leg extension. So you do not have to go low, and you don't have to shorten your stance to go wider. Put it this way, you can have a wide stance and still go that low. It doesn't really matter short or wide. What matters mostly is that knee traveling, in direction of the toe, over the toe, not complete over the toe, but moving that knee flexion is what's going to give you the activation in the quads.
Also, if you're currently squatting with a low bar position, you'll want to switch to a high bar to help you keep your chest up for a deeper squat.
That is completely, utterly wrong. Now I'm going to show you guys this clip right now. I'm going to explain to you exactly why I mean that. But again, when it comes to squatting, when I came to my when I failed at squatting, I remember it came to 5 plates. It was my second last year at university. I was hitting 5 plates, and my boys were squatting and whatnot. And I high bar everything. There's videos of me high barring everything. And I remember my buddy who's a powerlifter and whatnot and did Olympic lifting stuff back in the day. He came down and visited me and whatnot, and he was like, "Why don't you lower the bar a little bit?" And then kind of broke it down to me. Basically, guys, the higher you are, the higher the bar on your neck, the less stability, the harder it is for your body to stay stable, your T-spine, to stay stable, holding that weight up when you're going down. The whole point of having a low bar is to have shoulder depression, engage your core, keep your chest up. But having the bar on your neck and then having the cue to get your chest up isn't a good cue, and it's not going to help out. It's the wrong cue. So check this out, guys. I'm going to show you guys right now what I'm talking about.
Number one, if you do not have mobility in your shoulders, or it's hard for you to put the bar on your back, do not load under dysfunction. So don't try to load it differently in a worse way, meaning don't high bar it. The reason why you don't want to high bar is because Again, the further away from midline, the harder things are, the less stability or help we have when it comes to control and stability, or midline being here. So the more we creep the bar up to our neck, the more we're asking a smaller part of our body to stabilize holding this weight from doing this, when this weight is sitting on top of this torso here. So when you talk about putting the bar on your neck and being here, and trust me, I used to squat this way before, and I used to fail every single time when I got to my max weight, because on the way down and squatting, I can keep myself up, but I was loading my quads too much on the way down. And then as soon as it got too hard, I would start to collapse here, and then my neck would take over, and I wouldn't be able to drive my hips up, and then I would end up failing. And then I'm doing this, coming up. Now, when you're loading, yes, it's easier for you to have more mobility, because for me, I have to go a little wider when I put the bar lower. So for me, people have like shoulder mobility issues or bigger muscle density in their shoulders. I have to go underneath here for a low bar and then still get myself up. Now, the cue he gives to put the bar higher on your shoulders so you can raise your chest up is a bad cue, because that's not where stability comes from. Stability comes from you having the ability to depress your shoulders and keeping your torso engaged, your lats engaged, so you don't move this way. So just raise your chest up and then have your chest like your shoulders like this. You're gonna fail in your C-spine and your T-spine from this way, the harder it gets. So if you can't load the bar on your back, don't load the bar on your back. You don't have to squat. Do goblet squats, do hack squats. You do not have to squat in order to build your legs, okay?
So hopefully that made things a little more clear for you guys. So let's keep going.
But I know not everyone can just start squatting deeper with a few form changes. A lot of you might have tightness in your hips or ankles that's preventing you from being able to go super low. So if that's you, be sure to check out this video tutorial where I go over perfect squat form and some other things you can do to help improve your depth. Also guys, quick tip, you may not be able to lift as heavy, but if you're having a hard time with your mobility when squatting, try switching from the back squat to the front squat.
Now, I'm gonna rip them apart real quick because I'm watching you guys. So when it comes down to doing front squats, and I've talked about form with this, again, when you're doing front squats, the biggest part of having it in front rack is making sure your elbows come all the way up. The lower you go, that bar starts to do this, you're starting to hold and support the bar with your shoulders. When you're holding the bar in front rack, you're not holding the bar with your shoulders, you're really holding the bar in the front with your entire body, right? You're positioning yourself under the bar to be able to hold the bar with your entire body, just like it being on the back squat. So that's the importance of having your elbows all the way up and then they kind of sit in your fingertips there and not necessarily being down like this. So when we're actually watching him do the front squat, the form isn't perfect. It isn't too bad, but again, we want to make sure those elbows are up. Now, again, not everybody can front squat. There's a lot of issues people have when it comes to front squatting. Again, just like, hey, front squat if you can't back squat. There's, you know what I mean? It's just not that easy. If anything, goblet squat. All right, let's go to the next exercise.
Is the dumbbell reverse lunge. And it's not only safer for the knees when compared to the front lunge, but a lot of you will be able to maintain more stability and control with this variation as well.
Okay, I'm just gonna I pay attention to detail when it comes to this, because here's my thing. And I was watching Greg's video the other day, and he's talking about being very open about his medical Bill's blood work with. He had a guest on his show. He's climbing with some doctor, smart dude, whatever. And I'm looking at this, and I read the comments like, this is the kind of info we need. This is the kind of shit that will save people. And I'm like, yes, 100%. If anything, I want my channel to have is to help people. It is to, number one, help motivate. You know, we all know motivation is bullshit, but if I can give you a little spark, I'm gonna give you a spark. But then when it comes to, you know, form, I'm trying to make sure that I am keeping you out of harm's way as long as I possibly can. I'm gonna try and tell you all the things that I was told the wrong way when I was younger growing up throughout the evolution of bodybuilding, fitness, exercise, science, you know, just like movement, period. The whole training, everything about training has changed since I was 11 years old. And this is a very old cue, is keeping yourself upright. And he's bending back, you're not seeing enough knee flexion. So I'll go through this right now and show you guys what I'm talking about when it comes to that.
When we're talking about lunging, same thing again. An old cue back in the day was 90 degrees in both your legs. What happens is, you think about it, I want you guys to actually try and do this at home. Literally go on the ground, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, and straight up. And I'm gonna try and stand up straight. I can stand up straight. Now, where the load is going, we're talking about gravity. Right now, all the load is going into this part of my leg. The reason why people hate doing lunges and they hate doing split squats or walk lunges is because they're told from back in the day, literally, to go 90 degrees in your legs. Again, a lunge is a exaggerated stride. So when your body moves and naturally moves and walks, it folds or it rolls into the heel and pushes through the toe and moves. So to create that motion to get our body to move the way it should, we do want a tiny bit of a hinge at the hip, not bending all the way down this way, but a hinge at the hip. And then your knee's gonna go forward, as well as your back knee's going forward, collapsing into that leg. And then once we go down, we're over top and the weight's over top of our leg here. And then our center of mass, our anchor point is right where it should be, right here. And I move my head back this way, I'm gonna end up putting it down here on the back of my leg. When we're doing lunges, the main point of you activating your quad is making sure that we get a lot of knee flexion in the front. Now, you don't have to have your knee go completely over your toe, but we want our knee to go forward. Creating 90 degrees is actually gonna give you less range of motion all the way down. Think of it. If I go 90 degrees, I only get this much. If I go further past that, I load more and I get that much more activation through my quad and my glutes and my hamstrings.
But a lot of you will be able to maintain more stability and control with this variation as well. But the key to this movement is to make sure your chest is up as you step back.
So I know he's exaggerating from the picture on the left, but like again, the picture on the right, you're looking at his mechanics. 90 degrees, you can see his front foot. You can see there's a lot of stress going down on that on the back leg and that knee. You can see in the back, and you can see even when it comes to his back leg when he's putting his back leg down to anchor himself when he's doing the actual lunge, the leg going back, you can see it jamming back and jamming in. You're seeing it almost like going from plantar dorsiflex back to dorsiflex. We want to be reaching with that leg.
But if you're specifically using reverse lunges to target your quads, then you want to keep as much emphasis on your quads as possible during your reps. Also guys, when targeting more quads versus hamstrings, the step you take back is going to be much shorter, and the goal is to create 90-degree angles with your knees. So chances are, if you're taking a giant step backwards, that's the reason why you're not hitting your quads as hard as you may have thought.
No, you are not supposed to create 90-degree ankles with your knees. We want proper knee flexion. In order for knee flexion to happen, for your quads to be engaged, even for the hamstring as well too, knee flexion needs to be apparent. And knee flexion means that knee isn't going to just stick at 90 degrees like this. For it to travel through your toe, when you're walking, your heel gets absorbed, your heel hits the ground, your hip absorbs into the heel, and your knee travels like this, and then over when you go your toe and you actually walk over from heel to toe. When we're doing this movement, it's the same thing. We need to create knee flexion. We need that driving force to be going forward. We need your knee going like this, not the knee staying straight like this, and then the other leg going up and down. That's not a split squat. It's not a proper split squat. He's teaching us wrong. Stop doing old school ways of training. 90 degrees in your knees and being totally upright is the old school wrong way to do it.
All right, the third exercise I want you guys to try is the sissy squat, which can be done a few different ways. One way, and probably the easiest, is to use a sissy squat machine, and this can be done with your
Yes, the easiest way would definitely be to use a sissy squat machine. I would really hope that that's what you do if you don't have a sissy squat machine. But
you want to hold on to something
again, now I'm looking at this movement here. Is it necessary? Here's the thing. I want to build my quads, and I'm trying to isolate my quads as much as I possibly can with whatever we're doing through this video or whatever it is. There's not too many movements where you can literally just move your knee and that's it, apart from doing leg extensions, right? When we're talking about, split squats, hack squats, we're still using other muscle groups, obviously, your hamstrings, sometimes your glutes and whatnot, but when it comes to isolating your quads, there's not that many movements you can do just to completely isolate your quads. So when it comes to this movement here, I don't recommend it because, number one, how many people can do this properly? Who have enough, stability, mobility to even do this movement, number one. Number two, if you can't squat properly, or here's the thing, who are we talking? What kind of level of athlete are we talking to? We're talking to your advanced training, your advanced athletes, or are we talking to your beginners? Because we're talking to beginners, and even if there's some advanced people out there who just don't have the mobility to even do that. So I'm going to show you guys some other ways that you can benefit from doing this instead of doing this. Now, I'm not trying to chop up this whole thing and saying he's wrong. A lot of information here he's saying does have some merit to it, but there's a lot of things he's explaining when it comes to having the bar up on your back if it's harder for you to squat or whatever it is. Wrong. Keeping your 90 degrees in your knees and being upright when you're doing squats, when you're doing split squats or reverse lunges. Wrong. This movement, I'm not saying is wrong. I'm just saying it's not something that I would recommend doing. I would say there's something else that you can do that's just as good without having to look like you're basically doing the, what do you call it? What's that called? You gotta walk under the, I forget what it's called. Anyway, you don't gotta do that. It's not necessary. Anyway, guys, check this part out. I'll show you guys exactly what you can do to optimize this, or just not really do this at all. Check it out.
I do agree, sissy squat's a really, really good machine to have if you have the machine. If you don't have the machine and you want to do it, I don't think you should do it that way, because most of the time, let's be serious, stick to the basics. How many people are that flexible, mobile, agile to sit there and literally lean back the whole time while being able to have good muscle-mind connection to their quads the entire time? It's pretty difficult. So, and the easy way to do that is just to extremely elevate your heels. Something a little higher than normal than a squat shoe. So something high. You can get plates, if you have the edge of a platform or somewhere, and literally get yourself on top of the edge and really get your heels up tall, still pushing through your heels. So being able to have proper hip flexion, knee flexion on the way down, and maintaining a neutral spine on the way down, you're able to get the most out of your activation this way without having to worry about a balancing act. Now you can just counterbalance the weight with holding your hands out like this, or just having a kettlebell or dumbbell, goblet squats, whatever. So it's basically a goblet squat, but just elevating your heel that much more will do the trick without having to sit there and kind of do this stuff the whole time, which isn't necessary. Now I'm saying, will it work? Yes. Do you have to do it? No, you can do that instead.
All right, so.
Also, if you're having a hard time staying on your toes as you lean back, you can place a pair of dumbbells under your heels. And the reason why I'm showcasing this exercise instead of an exercise like a leg extension machine is because the sissy squat is going to give you the ultimate stretch on the quads at the bottom of the movement. With the leg extension machine,
see, here's the thing when it comes down to it. He's teaching you something here. He's saying to do that sissy squat, the different version of sissy squat, where you get the ultimate stretch in the knee. But when it comes to quads and doing lunges, the reverse lunge, if we want to, we need to step back. You know what I'm saying? So he's not consistent with what he's saying in what he's preaching. The movements are good. Yes, these are all movements that I agree with, except for the last sissy squat one. But again, when it comes to just substituting that sissy squat movement by just putting raise your heels up. Literally, just raise your heels up high as you can and then squat, like I showed you guys in the video. That's all you got to do. But I do agree with a lot of the movements that are here that are good for quad dominant. If you check my ebook out, you'll see that it's very similar in a sense, but there's a lot more explanation in a sense to why we're doing certain things. But again, I agree and I disagree. I agree mostly on when it comes to the movements. I disagree on how the movements are performed.
You really have no choice but to start at a 90-degree bend in your knees. But the sissy squat.
Now, see, I'm gonna disagree with him. I'm gonna say, I'll go back to this. So when it comes to doing the leg extensions, he's not doing leg extension or really showing you how to do it right in this video. When you're doing leg extensions, you want to make sure that that bench is up far enough, not the bench, but the back of the bench, the seat, is up far enough so you have a little bit of hang with your knee. You don't want the pad sitting in the back of your leg. So when you go down, you can feel, let's say here's a seat and here's your knee joint, all right? You don't want the seat to be here and you're like this. You want the seat to be a little back like that, so you have good free range. Your knee has good free motion, so when we do go down, we can get our feet underneath us. The reason why he can't get his feet lower or back far enough is because his seat's too far back. He's jammed on the seat, so he can't really move where he needs to be. So when it comes to overall, coaching, when it comes to me, that's why I'm so a stickler when it comes to form is, when I'm a coach and I'm coaching, I'm thinking about the person that I've coached before that has no clue how to do a certain thing, and then trying to explain it to that person how to do it. And again, if that person couldn't hear anything, how can I explain a person through visuals? So that's why my visuals and my explanations have to be consistent and easy enough for people to understand so they can do it, because a lot of people out there who are literally on the search for proper, good information on how to do a certain thing, and they really don't understand or know as much, so they kind of they don't really sift through the bullshit other than just watch a bunch of different, YouTubers, and hopefully they're saying the same shit. But sometimes we're saying a bunch of different shit. So we're gonna look at the end of this and keep her going.
Now, everyone has an opinion on whether or not your knees should go beyond your toes when training legs, and this topic seems to come up the most when discussing the squat form. Well, back in the day, the general consensus was that no matter what exercise you're doing, your knees should never track over your toes. However, we now know better. In fact, squatting with your knees going past your toes has been shown to offer more benefits to overall knee stability and strength. But what's far more important than your knees tracking over your toes is ensuring that your entire foot stays planted on the ground and that you're pressing through your heels as you extend your knee. Never push through your toes, and a good indication that you might be doing this is if your heels are coming off the ground as you squat. Also, if you push through your toes, you'll most certainly feel the weight of the squat in your knees, and that can lead to a serious injury.
And there is the cue that I was looking for. Let's watch this form at the bottom of the squat. You can see the big, crazy round curvature in his back. Him explain this, even when he was explaining doing it properly and improperly, that's something he probably does when he squats. Again, if he was a little higher, if you can actually watch, if he does this again, if he's going down right there, right before that's 90 degrees. See the knees are going straight, how the knees are going forward. You're seeing his hamstrings are real stretched to the bottom of this, right? At the bottom of the lift, you can see his hamstrings are really stretched. His glutes are flexed really hard. You can see the stretch and flex at the bottom of this. His back is straight. Watch what happens the lower he gets. See the hamstrings turn off? Hamstrings are looser, back is looser. You know what I mean? You're losing, even from the quad sweep. I would say the outside part of your quad you're looking at is not engaged as much until he gets to that point where he's 90 degrees. So that's what we want to look at when we're looking at, squatting wise when it comes to, just performing something for somebody else. Now when it comes to his tip in the end, him talking about making sure you push through your entire foot, that is the biggest cue of this. Even when it comes to people raising their heels with like plates, I see people raise the heels with plates, and all of a sudden now they transfer it all the way into the front of their foot. Whether your heels raised, you're wearing a squash shoe, whatever, you're still pushing through your entire foot, the toe and through the heel and pushing up. And that is completely right, and I definitely agree with that. Anyway, guys, I thought I'd just bring you guys that video. A very good video to use to help with, some of you guys out there who are beginners or even some intermediate or advanced, who are out there maybe doing the same mistakes. Guys, trust me, I would have definitely considered myself an extreme advanced athlete, and when it came to overall, my knowledge and training, but I was still doing some stupid shit that led me to having injuries that I'm dealing with today. So I am trying to help you guys out. I'm not trying to do anything but make sure you guys can build the most amount of muscle you can in the most effective way with the best form you can do, you can handle. And just taking a video at a time, trying to give you guys as much info as I possibly can to make sure you guys can up your training, take your training to the next level. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked that video, guys. If you did, guys, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. I'm always going to come with that tell like it is, transparent, vulnerable truth, guys. For coaching, guys, jonni.shreve.com. Head over to my site right now, guys. Book yourself a phone consult if you want to know what my coaching is about. At the end of the phone consult, whether it's 15 or 30 minutes, I deduct the consult off any package that you pick, except for the ebook. Which means, go get yourself a copy of the ebook. The ebook has so much information in there. It's awesome. It's absolutely amazing. I've been getting some great reviews from it. We're going to start putting up reviews actually on there right now from people's experiences, using the book. Literally, you can use the book, and it gives you enough information for you to literally change your training all the way around. And there'll be there'll be upgrades and updates to the book happening all the time. So make sure you guys get in there. We're almost close to that 100 that will be done, and then it'll be an $8 on top of that fee to have it accessible all year long. If you don't, you'll still be able to buy the book, but you just won't be able to get the latest upgraded version of it. But before we cut that number off, we're going to put the most amount of updates in it. So before you guys even decide to say, should I get it or not, get it, because I'm going to load up with some updates that are going to happen, and I'm going to start actually give you guys a heads up of when I'll be updating the book. So you guys are like, yes, new updates coming. Almost like, like a iPhone. Do you get the iOS update? It would be like the same thing. Do you get new push-pull legs training ebook update, and that'll be kind of how it is, I think. Something like that. Anyway, guys, make sure you guys get the book. Anyway, guys, use my code Johnny50 for 50% off the Power 30 cookbook. Also, guys, use my code. Use my code Johnny or the link in the description there. Harder Than Last Time supplements. You can use that code for anything on the site. Every time you use that code, I get paid, which is pretty cool. That's how Greg does it, help him out. But either way, use my code in the description, Harder Than Last Time supplements. Use it. Also, guys, use my code Johnny for 50% off fitarmy.com. The shirts are out right now. We just basically got them all organized. They'll be up on the site very, very soon. By the time this video is up, these will be available for you guys. I got the tank tops and shirts are available in the Iron Sharpens Iron and the Muscle Masochist. So these are some freaking nice shirts right now. I'm wearing the Commander Scoop tee. So anyway, check it out. And use my code Johnny30 for 30% off letsgetchecked.com. Use my code. It's one of the most important sponsorships that I have right now that I'm working with. Best collabs for sure. You want to make sure that you're healthy on the inside as well as the outside. Guys, I'm on Instagram and TikTok. I'm putting it all out there. Shorts, the works. Shorts, Reels. Shorts, Reels, TikTok, whatever. They're all going up. Follow me on Instagram and YouTube. Instagram and TikTok. Send me your progress pics, your training pics, training clips, your foodie pics, and I'll repost it for you guys because you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life in the meantime. Keep dream chasing. Peace.